Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. I haven't been putting up a lot of content lately. Been doing a lot of work getting the kids back in school, around the house, job, school for myself. Lots of stuff going on. I wanted to get in here and do a review. It's been about 6 months. We've been using this Trak Racer TR80 for this whole time. Wanted to say, you know, what's good, what's bad, what's happening with this thing. Just had somebody ask whether or not I got all the nuts and bolts with it. To answer that, yes. When I got this thing, I got plenty of hardware. I don't think that should be a problem. They give you a lot of these little Allen bolts and stuff like that that get in there. As far as sturdiness and holding up, you know, this thing is doing just fine. Little keyboard tray because it gets a lot of motion. The door here does pretty good. Don't really ever have any issues. Just throw a little tightening down on that every once in a while, snug it up. The only thing I would say is that hopefully they get these a little bit redesigned. They don't really like to stick in there very well. See, they just kind of flop around. Some of them stick a little bit better than the others, but overall they're not exactly that choice. You can see I need to do some vacuuming, stuff like that. Shifter mounts, everything's, you know what I mean, like it's really firm. I got zero issues there. A little button box wing, nothing that's not necessarily Trak Racer except for the hinge down there. Overall, this thing, I mean, it's solid as a rock. I always suggest to people, I use Loctite MS222. It's a low strength purple Loctite. For any bolts you got a concern about, definitely hit those up. For sure, pretty much everything on this wheelbase holding that up is going to be Loctited. These guys back in here, definitely had to throw some Loctite on those to get them to stop moving around and complaining. Other than that, I don't really have any problems, any issues or concerns. This thing's always ready to go. Seat sliders, you can see they're getting goobered up just like a normal seat slider with dust and crap. I imagine eventually I'll have to take these out, unbolt them, run them out to the garage, wash them off, blow them out and re-lube them, put them back together. But as far as, like, you know, seat motion and stuff like that, you know, I'm kneeling down next to it, just lifting up with my arm and pulling it, so it's not really that difficult. It works out nicely. The handles never popped off on me or anything like that. Seat, pretty solid. I haven't had any issues with the seat. None of the stuff wearing out. None of the cushions doing anything weird. They're all removable, so, you know, you can take them out and wash them and stuff like that. I did have to add this big piece of plate aluminum for a mouse pad so I could, you know, scoot the seat up and ride and still access the mouse. I do have a 400 watt stereo going pretty much all the time. I think these brackets being a little bit flexy takes a lot of the rattle that the speakers would naturally transfer in, because even the side tighteners aren't really loosening up or anything like that. And obviously that's not Trak Racer, but if anything's going to rattle something loose, probably speakers going off and doing that kind of stuff. No real issues. Yeah, see, there's another one of these things, just kind of, you touch it and they fall off, and it kind of sits out there looking like a dick on a fish. But everything up under here working fine. I guess on other products, if you're looking, that's a little Pyramid Marine or Pile Marine amp. Got it for like $40. This little power supply You get them off of eBay for 20 or 30 bucks. And it's, you know, it's got its own fan that you can hear, obviously. Sorry. My pedals are just gloriously dirty. Lots of use. Yeah, everything's working. This Honeywell fan is just absolutely perfect. I don't know if people don't understand what I'm talking about when you can fit one of these things. You can see I've got, I upgraded the case on the computer and the video card. A friend helped me out with that big time. But the server rack shelf, just invert it so it's a little bit stronger. And then mounted this little Honeywell fan to where it's pointed. You see the seat right there. So this thing creates a nice little breeze, and you can put a little driving fan sticker and switch there on the power supply so that you can be driving and get to a straight and kick on the fans so you can cool yourself down as well. Also, another real good thing, these server rack fans got the open-sided case here. Hyundai hard drives, I like them. Pretty good. As far as, you know, just trying to stick back with the Trak Racer, I just don't have any issues to report. This thing is built like a brick shithouse, people. It just doesn't move at all. We're really considering getting a TR8 as a second rig, for a more simplified version, so it's not all like completely complex like this one is. It'll just be this wheelbase and a shifter and nice tube frame and a seat and the wings and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as far as like just getting one of these, I would have no issue ordering another one. It holds everything just fine. When you're racing and running, it's sturdy enough to where this big 65-inch screen, because it can move. You know what I mean? Like, I can shake it and move it by itself, but when you're sitting in there, it's not shaking around or moving because of the force of the steering wheel. And just for the record, I've had the steering wheel set at 100% force feedback. I don't change it. If it's going to give me all of what the car gives, I want all of it. Yeah, I just I haven't had any issues as far as what Trak Racer has sent. And once it's assembled and you've got it tightened down real good, and that's one thing I would say is, necessarily, if you have to go and get a better quality wrench even than what they send you, which is still pretty good. I mean, you see there's no stripped out ends on these wrenches. They give you a little ball hex on there. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, definitely you would want to get like a snap-on. They've got a gold anodized snap-on wrench or something, so you can really horse these bolts down if you want to, if you think that you need to. But frankly, just a little bit of Loctite seals them in there and locks them in place. So as far as Trak Racer goes, it's a solid thumbs up for me. Hopefully they've got all their little shipping things or whatever that people have experienced, but honestly, I think everybody was dealing with ugly shipping here in the last year and a half, and still maybe, you know, things are wild out there. So I would give them some benefit of the doubt on the shipping stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a solid purchase for the gear that we got, and for the level of you know, just being sturdy. Most people are not going to have. I took the rubber feet and mounted them to these steel plates. This is like a 5/16 inch steel plate, 4 inches wide. It goes all the way out, and then the front one is a 6-inch plate, 5/16 by 6 inch, and it goes out wider. I'm not sure it would have ever needed that, but if you have any concerns about stability, it's very easy to get a piece of steel plate. I think it was 20 bucks worth of steel, and just drill in the holes. Use the factory bolts, use the factory feet and hardware, and you know, everything comes up. I would probably round these corners just a little bit more the next time out, But this is completely unfinished. I just smoothed it out, painted it, drilled the holes, and slapped it together. I've never really had too much of a problem kicking that or anything like that. You just kind of learn to avoid it. But again, that's not Trak Racer or anything to do with them. That's just me thinking, you know, I want it really stable. Mostly because I've got, you know, a 60-pound wing hanging off of it on this side. And, you know, just a little bit hanging off on this side. A little mouse pad, 20 pounds or something like that worth of gear. But these things add up. It gets going once you get into it and build one out full. I started from a parts list and just went all the way through step by step and figured out ahead of time what I was going to have accessories wise, so that it all came out together as one. So the shifter, the handbrake, your button box, the other button box, tablet holder, you know, headache rack, mouse pad, stuff like that. Like, I knew all of this was coming, the stereo and dash and stuff like that, and your little cool guy map light and all of this stuff. I was aware this was going to be happening to this rig before I ever built it, so I was able to source some of the other parts, you know, hinges and little handles and aluminum plate and like that. This piece obviously didn't come from Trak Racer, that came from eBay. But being able to add it in and mix and match is like it's the idea of 80/20. So, you know, if you spend a few minutes planning ahead, you could probably get some really cool hardware to modify it to essentially be right where you should be. All of your driver controls should be within reach. So if you notice, when you're sitting in the cockpit of this sim rig, you're able to operate the stereo, the light, the keyboard, cup holder, stream deck, power supply behind the wheelbase for your fans and cooling systems, and all of your button boxes, and everything needs to be right there. Little rack for your remote, turn on the TV, everything. Think of it like an actual car. And if you don't have, you know, if you got the time, go out to a salvage yard and sit in a few different cars, or go to some car dealerships and figure out some nice cars the way they're laid out, the way you would like to see the buttons laid out for driver controls. And don't forget cooling. You can't imagine how many races where I see guys or hear guys talking, oh man, I'm so hot, I'm sweating buckets, my seat's wet, all this kind of stuff, and it's like a $20 fan bolted upside down, pointed at you, and you can have it solved. So as far as like variety and the ability to just create what you want, 80/20 is it anyway, but Trak Racer gives you plenty. And I got a lot of hardware with them that, you know, maybe it's not the usual, but it was decent, and there was plenty of it, so I was able to change things around the way I wanted them. You can see how this extra bracing down here went, adding an extra bar here and bracing it on both sides, up and down, getting the pedal plate braced properly and put together where it was never going to move. And of course that widened the machine out, or widened the pedal plate assembly out. So I just went to eBay and got these wider and cut these. Went to a friend's shop, cut them on a bandsaw. You can cut them with a hacksaw. Couple of extra angle brackets, this and that, and now you got a wider pedal plate assembly with a little bit more room to move around, so that I could offset the pedals to the left. That way you can do left foot braking a little bit easier when the pedals are, you see how they're basically on the center line of the seat, is right down the middle of the brake and gas pedal, and then your clutch is off to the left. That's going to be kind of ideal about where to put your feet so you don't wear your knees out. Otherwise you have to put something in between here to prop your leg up over, which is never any fun. That's something that I would suggest, as far as like, I don't know if it's Trak Racer or whoever could do it. When I'm sitting down, I would like a little bit more to rest my head on. I can get, you know, your head sits back here. I'm pointing the wrong way. Your head sits back here, but it's not necessarily easy to rest your head comfortably. I would love to have a little bit more neck support back in here. and then having a little bit more cushioning along this side to puff this out a little bit. I'm looking at an OMP steel frame seat that's got a lot more of this cushioning. So essentially, I mean, you can be a decent sized person and still fit in this seat. So, and I'm 6'2", 200 pounds. So, and I don't even, well, shit. I'll sit down. See what I'm saying? Like there's a gap. If I put my legs straight out, there's still a gap. You know what I mean? So there's room to play in this thing. So I'm gonna cut it off there. Looks like that's about as fun as it's gonna get for today. I will be trying to come out with some more content, RC stuff, things like that here in the future. It looks like I might be getting a nice big ass TIG welder in my shop pretty soon, so I can start doing some welding projects and whatnot. So, yep. And yes, my cable management is just a yard sale, but I'm not too worried about it. Everything functions. If I need to replace something, I can get to it real easy. I don't necessarily have to pop loose 800 wiring harnesses to get it to come undone. I figured that kind of ease of use would be intelligent as soon as my computer failed. So now everything's basically just ready to go. Yeah, this Trak Racer TR80 is a very, very good cockpit, and I think it'll be it would be a good choice for anybody. So there you have it. What do you think, Aussie man?
Flippy 1, flippy 2, spinny, spinny, spready to the gods, kapow! Nailed it!
All right, we nailed it. We'll see you guys.